It's nice having you two gentlemen around this morning on Pensioners 106.7 FM.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right. William, I know you've been here I think twice or thereabouts. I don't need to ask you of your impression anymore. Barrister, I'm sure you are coming here for the first time. Yes. So, were you aware we have a Pensioners FM here?
Well, I'm not aware as such.
Okay.
Or I think I do listen.
Okay.
But maybe probably I didn't know the name.
Okay.
Or I listened to the station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You're very much welcome. Now you are here. You are part of the Pensioners FM family. Okay, let's go straight into the thick of things this morning. And where else can we begin from than at the pace-setter state, talking about Oyo State, where we have a political development in our hands as we speak. In the course of the week, of course, the appeal court made, I don't know if to call it a declaration now, or took a position which more or less left many, including legal practitioners, confused as to where to go. I mean, as a media person, even having to craft your headline became a problem for us. We didn't know whether to say that Governor Makinde's election was upheld or it was, set aside, or if, so I know that you have been following the entire process, Barrister. So we are definitely going to start with you. From a legal point of view, what would you say really happened on that day when the appeal court sitting in Ibadan gave a ruling, if you were? A judgment, okay, on the Governor Seyi Makinde and Chief Adebayo Adelabu governorship tussle.
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
In your opinion, as a lawyer now,
what do I think happened?
Yes, what exactly happened? Because it seems we were all thrown into confusion.
Well, I want to say that actually the judgments look quite unprecedented in the political history of Nigeria. I wrote an article recently, this last week, which I titled "My Lords at the Court of Appeal could have done more." Well, at times, when the law is applied or when the law is argued, you see, there are situations of things that you cannot really, you just have to take a position.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot afford to just sit in between. Thank you. We cannot just afford to sit in between. We must take positions on some situation of things. And I wouldn't know, because, you see, for the very first time, everybody seems happy. The opposite side is happy. Both opponents are happy. Because either with a good genuine intent or mischief, nobody knows, but both sides are happy. And it's not usual in the legal, you understand? In the legal atmosphere.
That a judgment is given to a party that claiming victory.
Yes, a party must lose and the party must win. But unfortunately, on that day, when that judgment was given, I don't think that really played out. Both parties were happy. So we wouldn't know. My laws could just have reached a position.
Mm-hmm.
If the judgment, because issues formulated, according to the judgment, issues were formulated. And all the issues were resolved in favor of the appellants, who is Adebayo Adelabu.
Okay.
Why the prayers and his relief which he sought were not granted. And naturally, when you understand, when an appeal is filed and your issues are resolved in your favor, naturally your reliefs should be granted.
Mm-hmm.
But my laws, in their wisdom too, said that because evidence were not evaluated properly at the lower court, at the lower tribunal, they can't, because evidence, we call something audio terem patem. You hear two sides and you balance it.
Mm-hmm.
They call it fair hearing in law.
Yes.
You see, when you have hear from A, you can't decide on A alone.
On the basis of
yes, you must hear from B. That is the basis of is a fundamental principle of justice. So after hearing from A and B, you cannot decide to use that of A alone without evaluating that of B. You must evaluate everything together and reach your conclusion. That is the position. But my lords at the Court of Appeal said that position was not what transpired at the lower court. That the evidence of Seyi Makinde were only evaluated, while that of some of the evidence of Adebayo Adelebu was parked aside.
Yes.
Therefore, it was not well evaluated. In the circumstance, it led to miscarriage of justice. So, if it led to miscarriage of justice, there are two things that the court can do. One is either to order a retrial or other lower tribunal. Yes. But unfortunately, the 180 days set by law is already passed.
Yes, it's passed.
You understand? Or you allow. You understand? When it's either you order a retrial or you do what the lower court has failed to do.
Okay.
You see, section 16 of the Court of Appeal Act gave enormous power to the Court of Appeal.
Yes, you said so in your article. I read that article you're talking about.
Oh,
yes, I read
it's okay. So it gave so much enormous power to the Court of Appeal, including the power of assistance on appellant matters. Because if a matter had been before a lower court and now it comes to the Court of Appeal, if the lower court fails to do what they ought to do, the Court of Appeal have the inherent power and jurisdiction to do what the lower court has failed to do.
Are you then saying that having exhausted the 180 days, the appellate court still had the power to order a retrial in that case? Is that what you are saying?
It's not a retrial per se, you see.
Because the appeal court was saying that if not for the fact that the 180 days had been exhausted,
you see, section 281, I can't be precise now.
Okay.
Set the number of days by Alteration Act. Set the number of days by which election petition must be had at the tribunal, not at the Court of Appeal. Now, the Court of Appeal have another number of days.
Okay.
For it to determine whatever or look into what the tribunal said. So now, the Court of Appeal is not existing in isolation. The Court of Appeal is existing by the laws of the Federation of Nigeria. So now, what are the powers granted to the Court of Appeal under the Court of Appeal Act 2015? Those are how to be looked into. So after you are look into the power of the Court of Appeal, then they have to invoke that power. Notwithstanding that they are sitting as an appellate court,
okay.
Yes, on election matter.
Okay.
They still have all the powers. The court, the law has given them
to look into those issues that they say were not looked into.
If evidence was not well evaluated, then the Court of Appeal have that duty to look into. Since they can't remit it back to the lower court, they have that duty to look at the evidence that is not well evaluated and balance the interests of parties.
So in this case,
if after looking at it,
yes,
what they decide is that let there be rerun. Let there be another fresh election, or let us declare somebody who was not declared.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
As the winner.
Okay.
They have that power. If they look at the facts and evidences before them.
Okay. So are you then saying, from what you have said so far, that the Court of Appeal was only trying to play safe and then perhaps pushing its responsibility to the Supreme Court?
Who am I to say that? I don't have that power to say that.
So what exactly was the Supreme Court trying to do?
Their lordship in their wisdom has done what they feel or think they should do.
Okay.
They believe that they can't declare Adelabu as winner because his what's it called? His evidence were not evaluated. We wouldn't know how substantial those evidence are, but no matter how insubstantial, you must evaluate it. That's what the law say.
All right.
So, and if it's not substantial enough, maybe they look at it. I wouldn't know, but by what they've said, I'm not sure it was looked at. So if it's not substantial enough, because you can't say because your evidence was not evaluated, one mind that was evaluated.
Right, let's take the comment of another Nigerian who is in the studio this morning.
Well, I want to appreciate it.
I'm sure you follow are you a lawyer?
No.
You are a Nigerian.
Yeah,
okay. From your perspective as a Nigerian, what to you played out at the Court of Appeal?
Well, it is something that personally I was bamboozled. Because once you take a case to the Court of Appeal, as it were, you expect some kind of a clarity to come out from there. Because these are learned fellows. Now, as the barrister said, both parties went to the Court of Appeal and they both came out celebrating victory. There can't be two winners in a court of an issue like this. The camp of PDP were saying they are still the ones in power. The APC camp were saying that, look, we have been given a judgment, it's our favor. Now, we shouldn't leave a court, and having such a confusion.
Okay.
That is my own position. The confusion, they should give us clarity because we are laymen. Okay. Now, you gave victories to two people, and now we are still struggling with the fallout. We are still having that issue with the fallout.
Okay, let's go back to the legal practitioner. I'm sure this is his jurisdiction to conclude on this marking the issue. So as we proceed to the Supreme Court, what are we likely to see at the Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court Act 2 also has the power granted to the Court of Appeal. You see, since the Court of Appeal has a tarry and probably not be able to do what is stated in line with their power under the Court of Appeal Act, and now that the appeal is to be filed at the Supreme Court, I know categorically the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court also, and these things has to avoid multiplicity of suits so that and nobody will be wounded coming to court. Okay. That is the essence. Okay. That Supreme Court too also has that power of that Court of Appeal to do the right thing. Okay. that was not done by the lower courts. So if it gets to the Court of Appeal, by chance we expect that the Supreme Court will evaluate the Sheyi Makinde's evidence and look at it with that of the Adilabu, and find or sieve and give judgments. Okay. If it is substantial enough, that is, if Adilabu's facts and evidence are substantial enough for him to be declared a winner or for victory, you understand, or for a rerun or something, or so at least I wouldn't know their prayer before the courts. Or I know it's either they are asking for a rerun, or asking for a fresh election, or asking for a victory. It will either fall in line with those three. Okay. Yes, or asking for cancellation in some areas. Okay. So whichever way they are asking, or whichever their prayer may be, they will look at those evidence and justify it with the fact at hand to see if it's substantial enough to make him, to grant him, to make him entitled to those reliefs.
So we have a case in our hand as far as your state governorship legal tussle is concerned.
Of course.
All right, we just have to drop the issue and proceed, as we have quite a number of other issues to talk about. Definitely today we are having elections, governorship elections going on concurrently in Bayelsa and Kogi State. And in addition to the governorship elections in Kogi State, we have an addendum of the, except there was a last minute change, which I have not heard of. There ought to be going on as well an election in Kogi West Senatorial District. That is the election between Senator Dino Milaye and Smart Adeyemi, and maybe if there are other parties in that election. I can't say for now, but I just know that these are the two major warlords in that senatorial district. But we are still going to talk about that maybe in the course of the program. But first of all, let's also touch on one issue that has to do with legality or otherwise in the country, and that is the issue of the federal government moving to check what it called irresponsibility in the use of the social media. And of course, tied to that is the fact that the Senate, it's going to bring back the issue of death penalty for hate speeches, barrister. Generally speaking, what are your thoughts on these propositions by the government and the National Assembly?
Well, I think hate speech in itself ought to be condemned. It's not something palatable considering the effect on the society, because hate speech has almost divided us all along.
Is there really hate speech? And
yes,
what exactly is hate speech?
There are hate speeches, yes. Let me say that, well, I want to correct an impression. You see, the law being proposed, which is a bill presently before the National Assembly,
yes,
is the fact that when the one that affects or attract the penalty is the one that when you make hate speeches against another person or you say something against somebody and the person, it leads to that person's death. You understand? You know, naturally, whoever accused must be killed. It's a universal law anyway.
Yes.
You understand? So the one that leads to the death of another is the one that carries death penalty. Not every hate speech. There are categories of hate speeches. You see, when you make hate speech, there may be one. I wouldn't know, I've not perused the content of the bill, but that is the bottom line. If you have a speech that carries, or maybe that led to somebody being paralyzed or disabled, you may get as much as 21 years imprisonment. If there are ones that make somebody ego to feel brutally uttered, it may lead to maybe about 5 years imprisonment. That is how law are rationalized.
Okay.
So nothing is all exhaustive, like is one.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure that by the grace of God, when that law is fully passed, it should regulate a lot of social media activities.
Okay.
You imagine people like Nnamdi Kanu and the likes coming on here and saying that Yorubas are this, that. If you patronize their churches, you are evil. You are say evil, as this and that. These things are divisive. And
but before I get William's take from what you have said, doesn't what you have just explained now also contradict what you have in the Constitution, the issue of freedom of expression as enshrined in the Constitution?
You see, the mistake people are making is that when they say that you have freedom, where your freedom ends is where that of another begins. You see, all laws, no laws exist on its own. All laws have exceptions and derogations, including that of freedoms, fundamental freedoms under Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Nigeria. When you have freedom of speech, your freedom of speech does not permit you to malign me, to go and defend me. Your freedom of speech does not allow you to say whatever you think your mouth can say against somebody, against the nation. You can be committing treason. Your freedom of speech does not allow you to bully somebody to the point of her death. Your freedom of speech, you understand, that you have freedom to religion does not give you cause to build your church beside me and be banging your distance in the middle of the night and be disturbing my constitutional nuisance. Your freedom of your right to life does not mean that you will attach me and I'm threatened and you are attacking me and I'm threatened that you might kill me and I want to kill you first. If I kill you first, when I see that you are pointing gun at me, then I'm justified under the law. Where your freedom starts or ends is where that of another starts.
We all know this.
So that is it.
But there are a lot of issues that will come up at some point, and that's the question I want to throw at William this morning. Now, you made mention of the fact that, of course, there are some categories of hate speeches that can lead to death and all that. Now, I want to ask you, William, how do we quantify these hate speeches at the end of the day? Do you have an idea how what you call hate speech could be quantified, could lead to death? Because if you have been following trends in this country, nobody could be more guilty of hate speeches than politicians. Because when it's time for politics, you hear the kind of vibes that come out from our politicians. You begin to wonder, are we really a nation of order? Or are people just doing things anyhow? So on the basis of that, William, I want to ask you, how do we quantify hate speeches?
We are still waiting to clarify that, because nobody can truly give a definition of what this hate speech is. Now, the barrister said something about defaming somebody.
Yes.
Now, we have a law already. If I may be wrong, we have a law already that tackles that defamation of character. Now, there are so many things that we are replicating now that we have the laws that should tackle them. Now, unfortunately, these laws are not, perhaps they're not working, or they're not being used as they should. Now we are coming up now with something different. Now, we must also consider the fact that the foundation of this hate speech, where is it coming from? Now, if you look at those that are pursuing it now, they are very much guilty of the same thing. But now, let's set that on our side. Now, as a nation, because of our diverse tribes, we have had to condone so many things. And we are still doing that presently. Because if not, we are not going to be able to live together. Now, what you may call hate speech in your own dialect may be something else in someone else's dialect. Now, these are the confusions that somehow, if we allow these things to play out the way they are going about it presently, it may lead to more confusion in the country. Now, you talked about perhaps a church, having a structure close to one's house and a night, having their video and the rest things. Yes, that is wrong. Because
there are social problems.
Yes.
And there are provisions in the law to handle issues like that.
Last Friday, I was coming from Mokola. I said, let me come through Sabure. And the road was blocked. On Friday, the road was blocked. There was a prayer going on. So that also was a problem. But somehow we have come to allow these things because we want to allow sleeping dogs to lie.
Want to tolerate one another.
Yes, because that is very, very better because of the kind of society we have found ourselves and how we have somehow been used as tools against each other. And who are those using these tools in the first place? And they are the same people that we are talking about now, the politicians.
Okay. We may need to close on this. I just want to get the lawyer's advice in respect of this issue of hate speech and social media curbing. How do you think the government should help?
Well, when something is a fundamental problem in a nation, there should be fundamental critical law against those things. Before, when we knew corruption was a problem, we have ICPC Act, we have EFCC Act, and there's some other law because corruption is not in the criminal code. Corruption has been in the criminal code since 1990. Since 1960s. But because people are not paying attention, then we need a special law. Because we know it's our problem. Now, look at this hate speech thing. You understand? There are part of it in the criminal code. There are part of it, whatever they are bringing up or bringing about. There are part of them in the Cybercrime Act. There are part of them in several other laws. But because the Cybercrime law or act is limited to issue of cyber, that is the use of internet. Yes. Though most of what this is speaking, when you bully somebody, when you do some other things are contained. But because it's limited to cyber, it doesn't cut across. At times, some of what these laws are specific to make it cut across. That's the essence of ICPC Act, EFCC Act. When something is a teaching problem. So in other words,
are you welcoming that law?
With the whole heart.
But I thought you started by condemning it.
I didn't condemn it. I never. I
thought that the first question I put to you
because it is important that when our nation is in the spirit of nationality, when our nation is falling apart and we are identifying the problem, we should tackle it headlong.
But the problem, we've not been able to identify what exactly constitutes that hate speech. And if you say that it may lead to death, you wait for how would you verify that it is this person's hate speech that led to this person's death? Because a lot of things could lead to death.
You see, when law are being passed, and when there is a specific mentioning, especially specific law, what like EFCC Act now, what ICPC Act, what is corruption? They will define it there. What is financial crime? They will define it under FCC Act. Then what is hate speech? Which is the meaning of hate speech? Once you know that meaning of hate speech, that you know that you can't just say something.
All right, gentlemen, we just have to move on because of our time. Definitely,
it will be defined.
Today is for Kogi and Bayelsa, and we will do our listener a great disservice if we don't talk about the elections in these two main states. In these two states. Hopefully, in the future, we will have more time to dwell on hate speech, social media, irresponsibility, quote and unquote now, and other issues relating to them. But for today, we just have to move on. But then let's invite our listener. Perhaps you want to join the conversation on the program this morning. You can call us via 0908 111 1067. 0908 1111 067. You can also dial 0808 0101 067. 0808 0101 067. You can also go watch us live on our Facebook page, Nationals FM 106.7. We are streaming live. You can follow us and make your comments. Also like the page to follow us there. Now, we will be back very shortly and we continue with our next line of discussion. Please stay tuned.
Give me sorrow and bitterness and pain. It is them and say, every time I cry, it makes my shame of it and I oh, I saw you coming down. Everything in life has got this time I see it. But sometimes I wonder if my season where my contract. Discussion of people is in this program, them say yo. Discussion of this soul is vanity. But I don't think much. But I feel comfortable. So what can I say? Oh. So much trouble. I feel
Welcome back. It's still Pensioners 106.7 FM at Barigo Onireke Ibadan, and the program is Voice of Liberation. And we have been discussing issues, political developments in the country. We started right here in our own dear Oyo State, where a court of appeal ruling in the governorship tussle between the All Progressives Congress and the People's Democratic Party left more confusion even than clarity. But we can only hope that the Supreme Court, as the final arbitrator, will definitely take a stand when the case gets there. We also talked about the issue of hate speech and social media irresponsibility as described by the government. Is it going to work? Will it not work? Only time will tell. We are switching gears to Kogi and Bayelsa states, where a lot has been happening as the elections go on today. The good, the bad, and the ugly we have seen. Now, we are going to take it one at a time. First of all, let's go to Bayelsa State, and I will go back to the barrister at law. A lot has happened in Bayelsa State. Within 2 days, we saw like 3 different court rulings. Barrister, how would you explain that? That first of all, a federal high court said that the All Progressives Congress was not qualified to field a candidate in the election. And while we were still trying to, even assimilate that, we had another one that the appellate court has asked the Federal Court of Appeal, asked INEC and others to maintain status quo, meaning that the APC can still field a candidate. I also had the issue of the running mate to the APC governorship candidate who was disqualified, and another appellate court also reinstated him. All these things were happening in less than 48 hours to today's election. As a lawyer, how would you help us explain some of these things?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. I myself am not happy. And I've been at the front burner of critics of some of the things that are playing out now, especially by all these politicians trying to use the instrument of justice to achieve their aim. And this is where I always cause for caution among my lords, because you see, I don't know. Our society seems to be breaking down. And if it's breaking down, my lords...
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Okay, keep on trying.
If it's breaking down, their lordships all around the country have that duty to instill sanity. They are the custodians morals. They are the custodian of moral of the society to make sure that everything is done perfectly and well. Now, it's embarrassing for different courts to be given different injunctions, different pronouncements on same issue. And we wouldn't know if some of all these parties are not aware that some similar cases are in court, or it was not disclosed to their lawyers. You see, some of the lawyers who are involved in some of all these things knows quite well, but yet they proceed and they go ahead and bring these things before these courts. You see, and in any Senate climb, this thing is something of which you can lose your license. But the way law is practiced there, and the manner in which many things are not regulated, and leaving so many things for baffling to people.
All right, we'll come back to you. You can join the conversation by calling 0908 1111 067. 0908 1111 067. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Pius.
Good morning.
Good morning, William, Nero, and David Nsabe.
Good morning. God bless you.
Then Jeffrey is my name, and I want to talk about the judgment of the election at the past.
Okay.
I was equally baffled that the court of appeal failed to take the position. The evidence of Penkelene was not evaluated at the lower court. The election.
All right, I think we lost him. Now, Barrister. Okay, still on.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Go ahead, we can hear you.
So what I was saying that the evidence of Penkelene was not evaluated at the lower court of the election petition tribunal. Some their payments from correcting the error. The court of appeal has right to give fair hearing in order to balance the scale of justice and then give judgment. But the court continues to remain at the center, or let me say a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, just like the crowd. But let the party code remain. That means nothing to remain the governor, my Penkelene will still remain as the complainant. But I'm happy that the matter has gone to the Supreme Court, and we're going to see the verdict coming from there. Let me start with my name. I'm following your program.
Thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning. Now, Barrister, before I leave you to Williams, to start with, what was the Federal High Court right to have even, disqualified the APC in the first place in that election, given what we have seen in recent elections in the country? The case of Zamfara and Rivers State, for example.
Well, you see.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. All right. Okay. Hello, good morning. All right. Please do call us back. We would like to hear from you. So, Barrister, let's get to hear you.
A lot of things are happening in the country. And I would say that we all have ourselves to blame. When we are enjoying bad thing now, that bad thing will haunt us one day. When you bring a kind of, you see, at times, the people at the helms of justice are human beings. And so much away.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Mr. Aziz from A.
Okay, welcome on the program. Hello, we can hear you live and clear. Go ahead.
I want to greet my barrister there for the job well done. First of all, about the of I think the people have stated it clear that what they want is because in the state they have.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we are with you. Go ahead. We can hear you. Okay. All right. Please do call us back. I think we have some distortions there in the lines. So, Barrister, round off your thought.
What I'm saying is, you see, even in law, there are something we call bad precedents. And once it's late, it's dangerous to society. You see, in those days, there are situations that so even when the law says something, by statute or canon of interpretation of law, when that thing will hurt the society, will burn the society, will destroy the society, will deprive citizens of their joy, it will be refused. In the court of law, nothing is absolute. There are canons of interpretation, the golden rule of interpretation, the mischief rule of interpretation, the Ejudem rule, a lot of rules of interpretation. Okay. That is why we call the judiciary the interpreter of law. The way you see it in white and black, you understand? If it's going to cause injustice to another, the court have the power to interpret it otherwise. And now, what is justice? When you say that a party who is in a party who was all along the campaign and everything should be removed 2 days to election. All of a sudden 2 days to election. What happens to the people? You just disenfranchise people just like that. Some decisions are reached on basis of public policy. You see, when in so many cases, in some cases, even MK Abiola, I've forgotten some of these cases. You understand? When a law says this, or when a law says you can even do this, in the interest of public policy and public order, you understand? The judge have that power to interpret that law to suit the purpose of the society.
So are you then saying that even if they found something wrong with that primary that was conducted, for morality's sake, they shouldn't have gone ahead to rule against the...
Not for morality's sake, in the interest of public policy.
In the interest of public policy.
You see, in Zamfara, what the court did is to people who they never wanted. Because I learned that APC was popular in that state. And all the parties there were popular. I mean, the APC. But all of a sudden, the court said it doesn't recognize APC, so automatically PDP entered.
All right.
So what happened to their citizens? What happened to the state members?
Now let's look at
the first people they don't want on them.
William, let's look at the security issues now from Bayelsa State. Days to the election, we already had skirmishes here and there, to the point that even some persons were attacked at a rally by the People's Democratic Party, and I know that a driver of the Bayelsa State corporation, broadcasting corporation, from what we gathered, was killed by a stray bullet. And a lot of people scampered for safety. When are we going to ever get over this issue of violence in our election?
It has become part and parcel of our election. Now, it was not yesterday, a friend was asking me, what do you expect from this coming election in Bayelsa and Kogi State? I said, what should I expect? The players remains the same. Their mindset remains the same. And the umpire remains the same. Fickle and prone to coercion. Now, the landscape for this democratic process remains the same, like a jungle. Now, all these things put together, what do you expect me to expect? Now, the killings, as you have said, they have started. The brigandage, they've started. Now, we keep talking about, this process as, this process should bring about those that should lead us. And it should bring forward to us the very best amongst us. But often, because of the way it is played, monetized, and the rest things, now, it often do not give us the very best to lead us. And we are here because of this facts. Now, security-wise, we see that there is so much, and those that should secure these processes, most times we see that they are culpable of the injustices.
It is that they should be prevented.
Yes, by virtue of their positions. Yes, they become part of the injustices that we see, all around. By and large, we have so monetized this process, and it is not about getting the very best for the state or for the nation. Now, I was asking myself, I said, 16 years ago or 20 years ago, this argument we are having now, we had it.
We've been having it over the years.
Even right now, it is far worse than how it was 16 years ago. Because this desperation is not about service anymore. It's about getting there and getting what you want.
So, Barrister, does this mean we are not developing in our democracy? Are these indications that we are not moving forward democratically?
You see, me, I'm a disciplinarian to a certain degree.
Okay.
And I believe in some way of Plato when it comes to, in some school of thought of Plato, when it comes to leadership. You see, in those days, in Greeks, when Plato was trying to teach the daughter, I think the daughter of Julius Caesar, and was trying to, because it was his teacher, and when he asked him, what is your belief on leadership? He said that for any leader to achieve, for any leader to make headway in leadership and be great and remember for greatness, you must have some measure of despotism in you. That is, you must have some measure of autocracy in you. Because democracy is bound to rule. That is it. That's what he said. If you say you know, democracy naturally is not part of us. Okay. In this part of the world, we don't comply. Everybody want to cut corner. Everybody want it sharp. So
what are you making out of it? So
what I'm trying to make out of this is, you see, until we have a disciplined leader who have some measure of despotic power to be able to exercise his powers. You understand? How even at times draconian, in a very draconian,
like killing people. Are you saying?
It's not. I'm not saying,
because we are trying to look at the insecurity that goes with the elections in the country.
You understand? Let me clarify. When you see so many great nations that are where they are today, you understand? When you talk of even the common Ghana here under Jerry Rawlings, you understand? You talk of China, you understand? You talk of what was it, Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore and the likes. You don't think they just got there?
Are you saying that because of our time we don't have so much time?
They had the leader who was.
In other words, I'm saying that these things that are happening should be part of our democratic.
It's because it's useless democracy that we are operating. The democracy that makes you to have a voice to pull it back when somebody is pulling it up. That makes you have a voice. We are just talking of hate speech. Somebody will be doing something good, and somebody will go there and use bad mouth and bad mouth it. And when somebody is doing something bad, some people will go there and use their expertise. You understand?
There are so many angles. There are so many angles to this. Now let's even look at what happened in Kogi State. Now we are gradually moving into Kogi State. But as I speak with you, I can assure you, from the feeders we are getting from these two states, we are seeing, electorate in queues, queuing, waiting for the commencement in some cases for elections in those states. In some cases too, we understand that voting has begun in one or two places in both states. So I think as the day goes by, you will get information as to how things are panning out in Bayelsa and Kogi State. Just yesterday, there were reports that our governor, Seyi Makinde, was almost attacked in Kogi State, because we know that he's the chairman of the PDP campaign council in Kogi State. And he had been in Kogi State, I think, since yesterday or thereabout. And that his lodge was invaded by some hooded, uniformed security men. Not hoodlums this time. Uniformed, hooded security men. While Oyo State government confirmed the attack, the invasion, Kogi State Commissioner of Police said, yes, his men were there, but they got intelligence that there were some illegalities going on in that lodge, and that it's an isolated case. At the end of the day, no one was arrested when they got there, and they did whatever surveillance they wanted to do and all that. Now, the question that easily came to my mind was, William, is it possible in a lodge where a governor is to have some other people doing some shady things around? Is that possible?
The explanation that the commissioner gave somehow to me is inadequate, because this is a place where the governor lodged, and there were security men around that place to secure the governor. Now, if at all, now the first question I would ask the commissioner is this: the security men that came to that place, were they hooded? Why would a security man need to be hooded? So, sometimes when these things happen, the explanations we are giving are just half-baked explanations, as if, it is irrelevant to truly tell us what had happened. This is a governor, for crying out loud. At least one would expect that before even coming out to say anything, there must have been a thorough due diligence, investigation first, before coming out to say anything. Because each time we speak like this, sometimes we belittle the situation. And that also is a danger to the society. So I don't understand where the commission is coming from. Perhaps it has some facts that I do not have. But personally, I don't think that scenario was handled the way it ought to have been handled.
Now, let me ask the barrister, is it possible that attacks were attempted on Governor Seyi Makinde?
Is it possible? You see, I've listened to, I've watched both sides of the story. What is impossible? Not even in Nigeria alone, all over the world, anything is possible. At least in America, some US presidents were assassinated, and in more part of the world, some terrible more things have happened. So that by the be that, let me say that, I wouldn't know. You see, in this part of the world, ordinarily everybody should be subjected to the rules of law.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello.
I'm following your program. I'm John Jacob.
Okay.
I just want to react to my Nsabe comment.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
As the Senate of APC by the top. It was called by APC said, and the party inability to resolve the internal crisis.
We can hardly hear you. Maybe you need to shift a bit from where you're standing. Hello?
I said that this short my father says that the same
Yeah.
Was subject to APC, and the definite of APC was APC set up a party. But the inability to resolve the crisis within its own party, within the government and the government.
Okay. All right, Baris, a round of your thoughts on the Makinde issue so that we can.
Like I was saying, ordinarily everybody is subjected to the rule of law.
Okay.
If they said they want to check the governor's hotel, I don't see any why somebody should prevent somebody.
But should they come? Should they come in a commando way? We understand that.
Were you aware they come in a commando way?
At least from the reports we have.
Because from what I watched,
yes,
you understand?
Yes.
From what I watched, I don't think I saw any commando way there. I know they came.
You watch an aftermath of it.
So people were just protesting outside, and the police were calm. I wouldn't know if they are police, because from what the commissioner of police said thereafter, he said that the information we had that there was a rescue call. You understand? That an intelligence that some people have attacked the governor. And when they got there, they didn't see anybody. That was what I had. Maybe what I had is different from what you had. That some people in police uniform came and they were attacking the governor, and they got a call to the commissioner of police. And by the time their whole team came, that all those people have left and everywhere was calm. So I wouldn't know. Something is fishy.
So is it that the governor was raising a false alarm?
Well, I wouldn't know.
The governor has his own team.
Even your state government confirmed it. The governor was spoken to. I think he also confirmed that something.
Often these things, when they happen, we don't get to hear the actual truth of it.
Well, it's still Pensioners 106.7 FM Agbarigo Onireke Ibadan, and the program is Voice of Liberation. You can lend your voice by calling 0908 1111 067 0908 1111 067. You can also call 0808 0101 067 0808 0101 067. You can also join us live on Facebook, Pensioners FM 106.7. Pensioners FM 106.7. Like our page and join us as we stream this program live. Hello, good morning. All right. Okay. Now, in the course of the campaign, the rally held in Kogi State the other day, we saw what a lot of people have called political drama, where the likes of Kaduna State Governor went on their knees begging the electorate to forgive Governor Yahaya Bello and vote for him. Was that an admittance that the governor actually didn't do things right? And so, if that is the case, should they, on the basis of morality, give him another chance? Williams.
I wouldn't know if it's an admission that he failed. If you look at that video, it was Nsabe that went on his knees. The governor himself was standing beside him.
Hello, good morning.
Okay.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Philip. Hello.
You're welcome.
Well done. Actually,
Let's hear you.
I think I greet all these commentators there.
Oh, they greet you too. They greet you too.
Yeah. Actually, I've been there.
Oh. Go on.
Hello.
Go on. We can hear you.
If you can. And
What's wrong with these lines? Go on.
Maybe when you on the power, then when you sit on the position, you find something very, difficult for you to just stop and roll. It's not attacking someone that comes to observe or monitor the partnership of his own party. You don't call for. And they thought this is not what we expect in democracy. Because
Okay, I think he has made his point. What happened at Governor Sheyimak in this lodge yesterday was uncalled for. That's the point he was making. So, what you were saying, you said it was not an admittance that the governor didn't do well. So, what was he all about? What was he about?
I think just a mere drama. Political game. Yeah, just mere drama. because
they said, hey, let me quote El-Rufai now that Governor Yahaya Bello is a young man. And as a young man, he's bound to make mistakes. And so we should look, or the electorate in Kogi State, should look beyond his mistake and vote for him.
To me,
does he deserve, from the report we have got so far from Kogi State?
I don't want to seem biased.
Okay.
But for me, that statement that Governor El-Rufai made is I would say is an insult to the people of Kogi State, because he is a young man after running for 4 years, and nobody can point to what you achieved. Now come and bend your knees and say, please give this same guy and that for 4 years to run your life to where? He has not shown any flair that he understands what it means to lead people. We're talking about people's lives here. Now, you have this, in fact, for me, the Prof Kogi State, they have the proofs before them.
Okay, let me go to Barrister and get his own take on this. What exactly does that mean? And is that the way for us to go as a nation? Do you think Governor Yahaya Bello deserves a second term?
Well, I am not in Kogi State. We are trained not to hear based on what people are saying. Naturally.
Yeah.
Anybody outside the country within Nigeria is in hell. And when you are here, you will know that it's not that bad.
Really?
Yes, when you get to other country, you understand? And you compare.
A lot of Nigerians may actually disagree with you on that, but it's your opinion.
It's not as bad as the way we are painted. Everybody is a crook.
Some people think it's even worse
outside
than the way we are saying.
Outside the country, everybody is a crook in Nigeria.
Okay.
Outside the country, everywhere there is nothing. We are a group of poverty-stricken people everywhere.
All right.
Outside the country, but it's not as that bad. So that is why we don't place emphasis on what we hear. I place emphasis on what we see and what we can observe. That is what we call it evidence. Okay. And that is the way they train our mind. So if they say Governor Yahaya Bello has not performed, that's why I say I'm not in Kogi State. I don't know if he performed or not, but one thing I know that I'm sure of, which is always in the news, is that he didn't pay salary. So, and as at now, I learned the salary has been cleared. And as at a particular time, almost all governors in Nigeria are owing salary. So I think it's not limited to him alone. Now, if somebody has said that somebody has made mistake and is bending on his knees for giving me if I've made mistake, naturally, even I offend my father, I offend my mother, my children offend me, my wife offends me. Okay. It's natural for us as women. When you are having issues, naturally you offend people.
Should we always
so now, because I'm seeking re-election, or because I want something from you, I can always come back to you to amend my ways.
Okay.
Especially if I have genuine intent.
So that after amending your way and I give you your way, you go back to your
I
ways.
wouldn't know. That looks judgmental.
Well,
and we are not trying to be judgmental.
If you call it judgmental, let's look at it now. Before I give you something, shouldn't it be on the basis of trust? So if I don't trust you enough to give you something, should I give it to you?
If you don't trust me,
I'm not by any means.
If you don't trust me,
if the people think that Governor Yahaya Bello is the right person, that's not what I'm saying. But let's look at these things as a microcosm of what should happen in the larger society, which is Nigeria itself. Over time, it's as if we vote based on sentiments and things like this. The point is, should we continue that way?
But the problem, you are not even looking at it this way. You are not.
Okay, we have a call. Good morning.
Good morning, Pius. Good morning, and I'm just wondering if you're from. And I'm just wondering, why are we taking those salaries now? But we are taking that. I am expecting from that. So when we have a feeling that people not because we are home or not.
All right. So sorry about that. I think the lines are a bit horrible this morning. And any moment from now, we'll be rounding off this first segment of the program. It's 7 minutes past 11 as we speak. We are not going to leave the studio this morning without talking about the issue or the election between Senator Dino Melaye and, of course, Smart Adeyemi. That's another issue in itself. Maybe this one is quite simple. The appeal court asked for a rerun between Melaye and Smart Adeyemi. I mean, in Kogi West now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
And good morning, Barrister. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I think just like the Barrister said, I mean, when I pick from what he has said, we have multiple problems, especially in our political process, even the kind of democracy, even starting from the constitution, it has allowed a lot of things that is taking place now that make the whole thing look so horrible. But that's where I'm going. But concerning the Kogi election that the moderator was saying, I think for me, even journalism in this country needs to be modified. Because when they were talking of a situation, I'm not a politician, but we should be a bit neutral when they were talking about a situation. But where you are not an eyewitness, you can only judge by seeing the scene, not as if affirming, because he was asking the Barrister a question, which looked a bit to me like being judgmental that he did think Jaya Biru deserves a second. I don't think it's for an outsider. It is for those who live in Kogi, if they feel they wanted to. Because when you look at the whole Nigerian politicians, for me, I'm still saying, and I will continue saying it, they are not different.
All right.
They are not different at all.
Thank you very much. We don't have so much time on our hands. I really appreciate your call. But I think that when we call somebody an analyst on the program, first of all, you are a Nigerian. And so you have your thought, whether you like it or not. We have our individual opinions on certain issues. So whether you want to say it or not is a different kettle of fish. I don't think that asking an analyst certain questions has actually done anything against the ethics of the profession. At least I'm a professional and I know exactly that. But having said that, we sincerely appreciate your contribution on the program this morning. So let's close now with the the Kogi West election involving Senator Dino Melaye and Smart Adeyemi. And I don't know if there are other parties, but I think these are the two major parties in that election. Well, what are we going to see at the end of the day?
Well, it's only playing out. They've gone to the polls to decide between the senator and Mr. Smart.
Okay.
But then, like I said, we are playing within this confines called Nigeria. And we all know how these things normally play out. Hopefully, these two combatants, I'll call them that, then they will play by the rules. Because our problem has always been playing by the rules. This is supposed to be a civic duty. It's supposed to be civil. But unfortunately, there's nothing civil about our democracy. It's almost a combatant.
That again is your opinion.
Yes, it's my opinion.
So as we close, let me get the thought of Barrister on this. Barrister, first of all, it was an attempted recall on Senator Melaye, which didn't work, and eventually the courts had ordered a rerun. The appellate court ordered a rerun in that election. And so many people have read so many different meanings that there had been a kind of conspiracy against Melaye. They want to remove him by force. From the perspective of a lawyer, did you see a case in Kogi West?
A case? I don't understand.
I mean, was there a need for that rerun, this rerun that we are having now?
Absolutely. If my lords, in their wisdom, I didn't sit as a panel over the matter. If my lords have examined all evidences and they felt like there should be a rerun, and in their judgment they expressed that, I think that is the law. There must be a rerun, and that is what is played out. So if they say somebody has falsified results and there were changes on the where the results were ought to be declared, they took it somewhere else, and there were alterations on the face of the results, and this and that, and they, after everything, examining the primary evidence before them, and they reached conclusion that there should be a rerun. And I don't think there is anything bad in that. And that is what is happening today.
It's all right. So, this is about the size we can take on the program, on this segment of the program, today on Voice of Liberation, Pensioners 106.7 FM. We will definitely be back to continue with the second segment. But I want to say a very big thank you to my guests on the program this morning. Mr. Williams Ero, a public affairs analyst. And of course, I also have Barrister Richamond Nathan Alade on the program this morning. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you.
I sincerely appreciate you. We'll be back to continue. Stay tuned.
Hey, my friend, time down on you. Make you not play with your work, baby, yeah? Time no money, oh. Time no money, time no money, oh, time no money, time no money, time no money. Use your time well, no waka waka, no gossip gossip, no spoil another man. Use your time well, do better thing. Money doesn't go from heaven, do better thing. Money don't come. The true word that they tell you so. Money and do. Hey, true word not the cheap, my girl. Not the spoilers, not good, yeah. China money, China money. Make you use your time well. No waka waka, no gossip.
Recently, the Nigeria Union of Pensioners held its National Executive Council meeting in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Naturally, there would be some fallouts from the meeting. With me to discuss that is the Senior Assistant General Secretary, Nigeria Union of Pensioners, National Headquarters, Abuja, and Head of Information Unit of the Union, Comrade Bumi Ugunkola. Comrade, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right. We all know that it's no longer news that just a couple of days ago, you had your National Executive Council meeting here in Ibadan, your state capital. How does it feel that for the first time you had your meeting in a venue owned by pensioners. How does it feel? How's the feeling like?
Thank you very much. The feeling is very good, very nice. The environment is very conducive, and the union is very happy. The leadership is happy, and we use this medium to appreciate everybody that participated in one way or the other towards the success of the NEC meeting, especially the Oyo State Council of the Union, the chairman, Alhaji Isiaka Abolade, and the indefatigable secretary, Comrade Oluwasegun Abaton. Also, and most importantly, all the staff of Pensioners Radio in Ibadan for their doggedness, dedication to duty, their support throughout the program.
All right. I'm sure the pensioners who came in from different parts of the country were very happy with the entire arrangement.
Yes, everybody. In fact, everybody was happy to be in Ibadan. And Ibadan did play host to them in a special way. They welcomed us very warmly. The city